So we had a great chat, and we seemed to be really in line with a lot of our thoughts. And his journey was really fascinating to me. So I wanted to bring him on the show so he can talk to you and consider Mark as a bit of an expert on virtual worlds, especially Somnium Space, but the metaverse overall. So, hey Mark, how you doing, man? Are you there? I hope so.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, Ian. Thanks for having me.
Not at all, my friend. It's an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this show. As I said, like you and I, we know each other to a certain extent. We've had a few chats, but today is more, like I said, it's a little bit different. Mark doesn't run a DApp or a protocol or anything like that. He actually runs a media outlet, but it's one that focuses in an area that is really hot right now. So, Mark, can you tell us, just to kick things off a little bit, like how did you end up curating a news portal for a virtual world? It's not really the most average of jobs, is it?
Oh no, it isn't. Yeah, it's a pretty long story. I'll try to keep it a bit short. And yeah, it's something that has always interested me. Virtual worlds. I played Second Life. I think many of you probably know that. I've been playing that, and it was always fascinating to me. And then I stepped out and left it for a while. And a couple of years back, I entered the crypto space, the blockchain space, and I found it very interesting. I'm an IT guy and an IT consultant. Technology has always interested me. At that point in time, I think it's like 4 years back or so. So it wasn't really about virtual worlds for me. It was just basically the whole blockchain space was really interesting and fascinating for me. Yeah. And I discovered protocols, and I bought some crypto. I even built my own mining computer. I just want to try it all, and I started kind of learning a lot of crypto, of different protocols that came later, of course, but it's all really fascinating. And I actually discovered Decentraland. It's being a bit with that, and it's really fascinating for me, and also the whole fact that it's like blockchain based and asset, you can buy land, and it's registered on the blockchain, etc. But I kept looking, and then it must have been like a little bit over 2 years ago, I discovered Somnium Space. And when I discovered Somnium Space, it became pretty quickly became clear to me that this was what I was looking for. I think that some of the old memories that I had, old forgotten memories in my brain about Second Life, I think they were revived. But this was just a better version of everything that Second Life ever could be, right? This was virtual reality, and this is something where I could step into virtual world, and I could immerse myself in a different world, and my brain would be tricked into being in that world. And I love writing. Like I've always enjoyed writing. I've had several blogs in I wouldn't want to call it career, but I've just always had that as hobbies, right? Like write about investment, write about music, and I always had blogs, and I did websites. It was like a quick decision. I discovered when I discovered Somnium Space, I started having ideas about this. This will become so rich. It wasn't really like back then, but I could see this developing. I thought we need a website, we need a news, we need to bring the news, and we need to tell people about this, right? That's really how it started. And I started, I think it's like 2 years ago. I just article out. So we're here.
It's quite a journey, right? And it's interesting that you mentioned Second Life there. I think for some people who may not know what Second Life is, because it's pretty old. So just to touch on it a little bit, Second Life is, I think, Mark, this is right. It's basically, it was a virtual world platform of sorts, but it wasn't immersive in that sense where you donned a headset and went in there. It was more a PC-based virtual world, I guess you could call it. But it came out in was it 1992, Mark, or 93? It's old, right?
No, I think it's even like I think the hype was around. I think we're talking 2006, 7, 8.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I got my dates wrong, but it's
Yeah,
still fairly old, like as a platform,
it's,
and there's 1.2 million users of Second Life. I
yeah. I mean,
think today.
its heyday, like that was back in, like I said, like 2006, 7, right? There were lots of people. It got a lot of media attention.
Yeah,
And yeah, what fascinated me is that you could really, like, in a way, reinvent yourself. You could take on an identity. You could be an avatar, and you could buy a home or have a piece of land, um, meet people and socialize with them. Started doing business even within Second
yeah,
Life. And
that
and
was
there, if
something.
yeah, and I would just wanted to say is that like virtual reality is like a million times better, like or Somnium Space is just leveled really because you can be in that world. Said like your brain is tricked, believing that you're there, that you're actually having having experiences with other people.
It's definitely true, because one of my first experiences was stepping into Decentraland, into the festival that they did, and I was a little bit skeptical, and not skeptical, that's not the right word. I was perhaps maybe scared is the right word of what I would find in there and how it would be. And I found it very casual and very comfortable and quite nice actually, and easy to kind of navigate, walk around. I felt quite at home in there almost, which I didn't think I would. But yeah, your point about kind of reinventing yourself, I think, is a strong point to that we'll continue through this chat. And it feels like that is something that's happening. And Second Life was like a first version of this that gave people the opportunity to like reinvent themselves, wasn't it? But touching on that economy part as well. So that was the first time that like people had set up businesses as where the goods were being traded within the world. That's right, isn't it? Like that was the first kind of
Correct.
instance. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that was quite revolutionary back then. And it's quite weird that we're not talking about Second Life more today. In obviously with what's happening right now, it seems that they're more relevant than ever actually. But just to because you mentioned that you started working on Somnium because you found it and you thought this is what I've been looking for. So you did that. Was that like an initiative that you just did on your own? Like, are you tied to Somnium Space in any way? Are you official, or are you just kind of in love with what they do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that needs to be clarified, of course. Somnium Times really is a community initiative. In that sense, it's not, say, directly affiliated with Somnium Space, right? So I started that because I loved what I experienced and what I saw, and it started as a little hobby project, but it has grown quite big. We can talk a bit more about, but yeah, it's a community initiative. Yeah, on one hand, you can say it's a website, but I really see it as an in-world news agency, right? Because we were born in Somnium Space, and we exist by virtue of Somnium Space. We're not like a website that covers like all the metaverses. Like a distance, we take a step back, and we're blogging or talking about different metaverses. Like this is really, we are inside Somnium Space, and that's where we create our content. That's where. But yeah, it's a big community already. There's lots of people also helping out with the Somnium. I'm not alone anymore. So it has.
Yeah, that was something I was, there might be people listening who are interested in being more involved in the whole, maybe not diving fully in, but being a bit more involved, learning a bit more. Is there any opportunities with the Somnium Times for writers or anything like that? Basically, is there any opportunities you want to let people know about, Mark, that you'd be keen?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the thing with Somnium Space is it's growing at an amazing speed. Like new features are released all the time. And of course, more people discover Somnium Space and they enter Somnium Space. They open art galleries, the parties. We have DJs throwing parties, many things. There's events like every single day, right? And I think what we really want to do with the Somnium cover as much as we possibly can, because there is so many good things going on. And I discovered rather quickly, like, I can't do that on my own, right? And I think that would apply to any newspaper or news agency. You need a team of people that can cover things that are going on, and the same applies to us. And because there are so many people coming, so many events are organized, new features are Somnium Space. We are always looking to expand the team. So if you're interested in writing, or people that just record in-world content, they attend an event and they film it, and we publish it on. It's also a possibility. But definitely, yes, we need people to keep up, basically, with some.
And you're looking for people with a bit of prior knowledge as well, and not complete, people who already have a little bit of a clue about the metaverse and these ideas are definitely the best people. A lot of the stuff that you guys are looking at is on-chain data, requires a little bit of manual labor, but it's quite fun if you know what you're doing.
And I think that just to add to that, right, it's like I always love people's own perspective on things. Yes, I think in general, like what we need, of course, is people that roam Somnium, start kind of immersing themselves, and even if you don't have a VR headset, you can PC with the PC client or even web to start kind of familiarizing yourself with some ways and let yourself be inspired in a way, and then reflect on that. And that's very interesting as well for the Somnium. You don't need to be an expert, but you need to be curious, I guess.
Yeah, it's like aesthetic feeling. You want to know what people are feeling and thinking when they're inside the world. Yeah, not just what they're observing. Because then I've got to ask, because obviously we've just done these events, and it's been a real, how should I say, in a nice way, it was quite difficult to perform an event inside Somnium Space. It was really fun and challenging, but obviously you want to cover in-world content. So what kind of technical difficulties does it throw up at you, Mark? Like, you're obviously trying to... I've had meetings recently where I'm in my normal self, and the two other people in the chat are avatars inside the Somnium world. And it's quite weird, because, you're talking to like a dog, basically. So it's or whatever their avatar is. It's kind of strange, but what kind of technical difficulties do you have to jump over to get this kind of in-world footage?
Well, like what we are doing is mostly kind of after the fact, right? So we're absolutely going there where we're going to do the live thing. Right now, we are mostly kind of recording the content. Like while we're in world, we're recording that and we edit that and then we publish it. So, Arthur Sikov, right, the CEO and founder of Somnium Space, he does that a lot, right? You may have seen that he is giving interviews to people, and they're in the physical world. He is his avatar, basically, and that involves like putting in Somnium Space. You have like a tablet, and you can film everything that's going on, pictures, and you can film, and you can actually stream that to your laptop. And there you can have like software running, like OBS or some.
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, and then you capture that, and then you can actually, that it's used as a normal camera, you can use the S camera for and that on, right? So yes, of course there are a few steps involved there, but I think that will become easier as it will be released. Currently, you still need to have some tools up and running and capture the stream and it all.
I was going to say the technical difficulties also extend over to the user's side as well a little bit, because they're not difficulties, but they're just kind of the average thing. So one of the things I think there's 3 ways to enter Somnium Space. There's the website client, the PC client, and then the full virtual reality headset experience. So the web client you can use on Mac and you can use on PC. It's very basic and very stripped back, isn't it? It's like... it's a little bit weird actually, because it's really simplistic.
Yeah,
and then you go into... Yeah, go on, sorry.
No, no, about this the web version, you could say, also referred to as Somnium Web, but it's the web, VR basically in app, right? So you can enter with just if you have a browser on your mobile phone or tablet or computer, it doesn't matter as long as you can access the internet. And it's limited to accessing parcels. There are 5,000 parcels lent.
Yep.
This web client, you can access parcels. You basically walk from one parcel to another, which you can do in VR or the. It looks different, and at this point, web client, you can't intros that are in VR. I'm pretty sure that will come.
Yeah.
And it's a simplified version, you could say, on one hand, but I would also argue that in the web client, we see enormous events that are actually organized only with the web client. The advantage of the web version is anyone can join. You can sit on the bus, right, and you can put your mobile phone and join an event. We've seen events with a lot of people joining. I think it depends a bit. I think the experience you're talking about, it depends a bit. If a parcel was like a custom developed object, I think that was placed on the parcel, then you wouldn't see that in web client. But it's still a very good way to access the platform. But it's absolutely true. It's nothing like the VR experience.
Yeah, the VR experience is really something else, isn't it? Like it's we had some. If you go onto, there's a couple of blogs we've put out about the event, and I've done some kind of screenshots of side by side. You know, the web client and then how it looks in VR, and yeah, it's a different world, and it's like if you really want to experience it properly, the VR client is the way to go. But like you say, you're right. If you want to jump in and just kind of have a little look around, the web client is a good way to kind of get involved, and that's available on Mac. And then importantly, the PC client is only PC, so if you want to run VR and stuff like that, you can't do it with a Mac, unfortunately. So that's not something that's available. Mark, I just had a couple of comments from a few people saying that you are cutting out a little bit. Is there anything possibly with your internet you could amend?
It'll be okay. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just a bit patchy every now and again. I'm missing a few words from you every so often. It might be either the microphone, perhaps, or the internet. Not sure. It's okay. If it's...
Internet should be okay. So then it's.
Of course, you're in Denmark. You've got good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, these technical things do happen. So yeah, I mean, it's so just to like recap on that, you can enter Somnium Space through your web browser, or you can use the full VR client to get a taste of what it's like in there. And it is a very fully immersive world, and as Mark says, there are 5,000 thousands of parcels to visit and look at. There's a few landmark ones like Arta's Club, which is the Tron Club, which is where we did our event. If you go VR, like wow, go and check out the Tron Club. Just go and have a walk around. It's incredible. It's like a floating nightclub with. It just blows your mind, basically. You can imagine, and then when you see people partying there, it just it blows your mind. But one thing I'm interested in, Mark, like, is obviously you're reporting on the goings on inside Somnium. What trends are you seeing inside the world? Like, are you seeing events more, or are you seeing like galleries popping up, or like what are people doing in there?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that initially what we saw a lot was that people opened galleries, right? It's a perfect place for putting your NFTs or your art on display, right? So that was like the moment you could build, which is, I think it was released back in February 2020. I think people could start building and uploading their structures. You could, it's very easy to start displaying your art. So that is, it was a more kind of passive thing, right? It didn't involve that much. You created your build, you created the gallery, and then you put your art on invite people. We still see that a lot, like the perfect environment. Go into VR and can walk into a virtual reality gallery, art in that way. It was amazing. But that was something that we saw a lot in the beginning, and as the features, as more features were released, we started kind of sense the audio got better. We at some microphone age and count and things like that. So we really saw DJs coming, organizing parties, and a lot of stuff. Like also because the SDKs were released, like avatars can be built by people. Create custom objects that you can load through the SDK. You can build entire immersive experiences. All developers can create a whole parallel immersive experience and place a portal to those experience parcels. So what we're seeing developments is more and more advanced avatar, variable, creating Somnium worlds and uploading those, so you can just walk around in some and then suddenly completely different.
Yeah, the worlds really interest me. It's like a parcel within a parcel almost, isn't it? Like you put the I saw it for the first time yesterday in the club when we did the event. They had the Tron Club out the back has got one of these worlds in its garden, and it's really strange because you kind of it's like a black hole, and you look in it and you can see what's happening in there, and then you kind of you walk into it and you're in an entirely different place. It's really strange, but it's very cool.
It's amazing. It's really like descending in the next level of virtual worlds. Like it's a next layer, right? So what I really love about Somnium Space and the whole concept, Somnium, it's not a game, it's a platform, right? And platform facilitates a lot of things. Basically, people are building solutions on top of that. That's how you have to see it. For me, it's nothing. It's like the internet. It's just we're next level. But it's a platform that facilitates people to creative. And that's the power. And what I love about the whole concept is that this overworld called Somnium Space, which is virtual reality. And sometimes I just walk around in Somnium, climb a mountain in Somnium Space, just because I enjoy it. Right? It's not a game.
Observing.
Yeah, basically just observing. I'm basically just observing, and for me, like Somnium Space is the only world where I just want to hang out sometimes, not do anything. But coming back to this with the worlds, then you can walk over to a parcel like the one with the Tron Disco Club, which is a brilliant experience in itself. But then somewhere you can enter this portal, you find yourself in brilliant. Maybe you have seen images, maybe not. It's the most exclusive nightclub of the metaverse right now. I think I can say that. I've walked around in it on our YouTube channel. You're walking around and reviewing.
It's awesome.
Like, it's amazing.
Incredible. It's incredible.
The lights and
I guess it's like a real testament to creativity as well, because you can literally let your mind go crazy in there. Like when we were setting up the club, they were putting up banners and things, and it's like, I used to run events, so you need to put a banner up 15 feet in the air, you need a jack or you need a ladder. Not these guys, they can fly. So it's just really surreal, but at the same time, like amazing to watch. Like and
that's then for me the real power of when you are in Somnium Space, and say people call it a game, or you can call it whatever you want, right? But and what I hear a lot, right, this is not real, right? Like it's real because it's virtual, right? And then I say, well, the money on your bank account either. That's bits and bytes. Like the website we're looking at right now, Discord, is not real. That's just digital. like nothing, what is real? We as humanity are projecting ourselves into realm deeper and deeper. And for me, this is a very logical next step in the whole evolution. The thing for me here is that when I'm together with other people in the nightclub or anywhere in Somnium Space, or I maybe just have a walk and talk, or we are at a party, or a big drop going on. When I leave, step out of Somnium, I'm left with a memory. I can talk to these people, whether it's again in virtual reality or I talk to them in physical reality. We can reminisce about memories that we created together. Do you remember that time where you were at the nightclub in space? These memories are real.
It's tangible, right? It's I see what you mean, because when I was watching the stream, those guys in there, and there is like quite a, not small, there's like quite a good gang of people that like Arta, Ultralord, Djembe, Ollie, the DJ, and they're always on the dance floor. And one thing I've noticed they always try to do is they always try to hug and hold and join arms and kind of be as one, which is physically really hard to do because they're all in different rooms in different parts of the world. So it's like this ultimate challenge to kind of like have a hug in a virtual world. And I keep seeing it over and over, but it just reminded me of that because of the way that you're talking about experiences, and it's real. And like you say, what is Discord? What's real? And this Web3 idea is really taking people from being, what is it, from a read-only consumer perspective into like a contributor participation job. You know, we're not consumers anymore, we're actually part of it. And I think that is amazing, like to think of that in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And some like to hug more than others. I think you ran into Ultralord. He is a hugger. He's a great guy, and what I like as well, I talked a bit earlier about reinventing, right? And that what I think our mission statement, if I have to be boring, right? For the Somnium time, like the mission would be to be a window through which people can see themselves in a new light, right? Like, because it's so inspiring. Like the fact that I couldn't have imagined. So, and not even that. Like I did some things on the side as well. I was a gallery owner, ancient art and sold art, and bought a race car. It's like that, right? So you can
living in
because you start to live in there, not because you're not yourself. And it's not because you're not yourself, but it does. For me, it triggered. That applies to me. It triggered so many thoughts, so much and I see so much creativity around me. Yeah, in a way, reinventing themselves. Like, hey, we've known there are people who speak. They said I would never have done that in the physical world, and suddenly I'm standing out, and I feel that I'm in the same room with these people. Suddenly, I'm going to life. It's awesome.
It's like that whole idea of reinventing yourself also is not new. If we think about it more deeply for a second, it's like if you look at social media or you look at how people portray themselves in the digital world, we all know that an Instagram image is probably not what you're going to get in real life. So people are already doing that. It's not like a new idea. It's just taking it over to Web3, really, isn't it? Like it's already in process. People are up for the idea. It's just that they can now kind of extend those feelings a bit. And I also like one of the when you go in world and you see those guys, and like I was talking about Djembe and Ultralord, and the vibes that I get from them is just really lovely. Like they're just pure love. They're really helpful people, and they're really taking this community seriously. And I can see it's like a little village, you know, in a cute part of England somewhere, and all these people are kind of huddling together to build something truly cool. And it's a really amazing thing to go and watch. So anyone out there who's never been in, I'd say go and check it out, or just watch some of the videos, because it's I think you'll agree with me, Mark. It's quite hard to explain, isn't it? Like it's you kind of do have to go and see it to get a real taste of it, and you might be a bit dubious. Like I was dubious, and I was a bit worried, but actually it's very cool and it's quite natural. So
and I think that's one of the things that stood out for me as well is the community. I think that of course as the community grows, there will be more people and you run into different people. But so far for me, the community has been amazing, amazing support. If you join, and I would recommend if you're interested, then definitely join the Somnium Space Discord, and you can ask questions. And there's always people from the community willing to help out. And
yeah, absolutely. I was overwhelmed with how helpful they were, and they just, they didn't even know us from Adam, but they wanted to support us because we were supporting Somnium and we wanted to do our event with them. So, it was all hand in hand. Mark, I'm just going to shift over to a couple of questions from the audience. We've got 4 people lined up, so get ready. They might ask you some awkward questions. Zippy, 1979, nice to see you again, man. How you doing? Is he there? Zippy? All right. We'll leave him there for one moment. Okay. Mr. Sohal, are you around?
Yes, sir, I am. Can you hear me?
We can, yes. What's your question?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations for the successful launch of Radar Token. It was a wonderful event in Somnium Space. And I've got 2 questions. First one is there are some other projects there in the market like decentralized Mana and Sandbox, and even centralized Meta projects like Facebook Meta. So, how would you compare yourself to those projects and make you unique?
yeah, that's I think a good question, and you could say that that one thing that I told a bit earlier, right? When I discovered Somnium Space, I just basically fell in love with Somnium Space, and I wanted to. I saw the potential there, and ever since I've joined, I've just seen how relentless the company is with releasing features and expanding the world, and make this really a platform where people can be creative. And I think that one of the key things is also that the fact that it is built on blockchain, right? It's not 100% on blockchain, but the one element is the fact that all the assets that are created, either sold by some, like the land, for example, also like assets that users are NFTs. So the separation of platform and asset ownership is very important. Of course, like the infrastructure to run the world is still on servers, or it's basically servers, but there is nothing that prohibits this from over time to be a decentral protocol as well. So I think that that's the direction in which Somnium Space is going, that it's this open, persistent, blockchain-based world is very important for me. This will not be the only one. I'm not saying that Decentraland isn't good. That's based on blockchain as well. And we have Sandbox and we have crypto voxels. We have a lot of them. And for me, it's not about like really competition at all. Like I personally fell in love with Somnium Space because I know that Somnium Space, it's virtual reality first for Somnium. This is what I personally using. That is something that attracts me in the world, right? And I don't even want to talk too much about Meta because I think we know what Facebook is about. And it's a company that feeds off people's data. And even though they start talking about the metaverse, they will continue to do that. I think that, I mean, they have a lot of money, right? I'm convinced they will build some.
Yeah. Well, we can be certain that they'll build something quite impressive, but whether it'll serve the needs of what the people in this group and what we as decentralized admirers would like, I'm not sure myself. But I think just on that question as well, there is quite a lot of differences between those worlds that you mention, and if you go and explore some of them, you will quickly see the differences between, say, Decentraland and Somnium Space. And I think what sets Somnium out is yeah, like you said, Mark, that full virtual reality experience is what they have in mind from the beginning. It's not an add-on, so they're quite different. But that's a really good question. Thank you. Zippy, are you around now? I think you're on mute, my friend. Oh, he's got technical difficulties. Golf Wars, are you there?
Hello, am I audible?
You are.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
Good evening.
I have one query, and it's like the Somnium Space is like the concept of this space is amazing, and I am quite impressed by this project. So my question is regarding that it's based on Ethereum blockchain. So as you know that it is the most expensive blockchain of all the blockchain existing at the current time. So was there any specific reason it was released in Ethereum blockchain? Whether it would have been in like BSC, it would have attracted much more investors into it, like much more people who are into gaming and something like that.
And first of all, I'm not Somnium Space, of course. Like the decisions that were made by me are not mine, and I was not part of that. But I think that you're quite right, and I think that, and we're all dealing with that, right? And the gas prices are pain. You never know, and go from a few dollars to $200, right? Like it's insane. But I think that the company is really aware of that, and one thing is that they say that first of all they will become multi-blockchain also. And that some of the recent developments is that they also currently there is the tertiary land offering going on, so they're selling land and assets also on Solana blockchain, and they have multiple. I think the Near blockchain will be added. Support for Near will be added also. Layer 2 solutions will also be added. Like so, things will be Polygon, right? Will solve a lot of the pains with gas prices.
Polygon is already live, is it not? You can purchase Cube on Poly, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, and I believe this is pure. I mean, the company is really aware of that. It will be multi blockchain. It doesn't really matter. It's Near or Solana, Ethereum, Polygon, and I'm sure it doesn't stop there, right? So. And extremely like interesting developments as well is that actually that you will be able to create assets in world. So the addition of some features and there's something called a Somnium wallet, which will allow you to actually create assets inside virtual reality with other people without ever leaving virtual reality, and without having to deal with these gas price. I don't know all the details, but it's going to be amazing. And
it's worth mentioning as well that Somnium Space is it's one of the older projects, so it's a couple of years old. So Ethereum was kind of the blockchain of choice at that moment in time. There wasn't actually so many alternatives back then. So on a very basic level, Ethereum was like the most trusted and the sort of most secure network that you could launch on. So that will play its part as well, I believe. But as Mark says, as times move forward and the multi-chain idea has really come in, then things are happening, and they already are happening. So good question, man. Good question. RLO, are you there? I'm loving that avatar. We can't hear you, RLO. Okay, let's grab somebody else. Well, just to talk about Cube for a second, actually, while we wait for another question. The Cube token. So we don't want to get into pricing and things like that, but as one, just to talk about lands a little bit in Somnium, the price of the Cube token has gone up quite considerably this year. I mean, what do you think is the main driver of that? I mean, obviously there's the hype around meta and other things, but virtual land seems to be in hot demand right now.
I think it's a combination of factors, right? I think on one hand, I think it's the developments that take place and more people enter the world, and there's a higher demand for cubes and just for transactions, buying land, and don't forget that there is a lot of like transactions going on between people in the community, right? So which is not necessarily reflected in something called an OpenSea, but people pay for other people's services, often in only, but also in some, and that economy is simply growing. One thing that triggered, I think, the recent is quite amazing, right? It jumped, I think, $4 to 20 plus. Very short time, but also the news that was released by Somnium Space not so long ago. I think it was a little over a month, with the Winklevoss brothers Somnium Space and becoming official advisors of. So there is real substance here, and I think they would not step into this if there wasn't something amazing was being built, right? So, and I think that on one hand, it's just simply the world itself and features that are being developed, and people are discovering that, and it is growing fast. But combined with that news, and that's not the only thing. It's not Winklevoss. It's like some Space also announced that they are having this partnership with Tesla suit, this haptic suit, virtual reality. With also they are having a partnership investing in VR. That's a standalone VR headset. Maybe and we can have a competitor for the Oculus. It's better.
It'd be pretty cool. Like, yeah, I've seen the news and the announcements around their releases and things, and it really looks like they're building a sort of insular world there where you use your own gear and other things like that. So that's really cool. RLO, are you there at all now? No. Zippy?
Another sound check.
Sound check is work. Hello, sir.
Oh, finally. Thank you. Okay, so a couple of the things I wanted to ask already been said, but before I start, just massively bullish on Somnium and Cube. Such a great project, and there's so many people rooting for you because it's kind of a whole narrative of Web 2 versus Web 3 being built up with like the Winklevoss twins versus Zuckerberg. So totally behind you, 110%. And my question was, one of the barriers I see to adoption for like the VR technology is like that feeling of nausea. So I've been using like an Oculus headset. I can't use it for more than like about half an hour without getting extreme amount of nausea. So we just had to put that away. So I was wondering if you guys have any like software innovations or what you guys are working on to kind of help adoption from that perspective. I know that it's been a big concern.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm personally also one that experiences nausea, right? Like especially when there's movement. It's not when you just walk around slowly or you just have static. If there's no movement involved, it's okay, right? But the moment you start kind of going on a roller coaster or you start in Somnium Space, you can actually race with the race car, right? That is something that I started with nausea, but over time, because I'm so often that in a way it has like I started to adapt to it. that was an interesting experience for me because I didn't think that could happen.
You've
Regarding
evolved.
sorry?
You've evolved.
Yeah, I think I am. Like, I still have 2 legs and 2 arms, but that was interesting, right? Like, but like on the development side, like it's interesting, and I think as technology and like there is still some discussion about what exactly causes it, right? I guess some say, well, if it's just higher resolution, that will then fix it, but I'm not convinced because it's like a clash between the senses, right? And on one hand, your eyes register that you're moving, but your other senses, body say you're not moving. I personally started getting used to it. I think that like I just talked about Somnium Space working on their own headset partnership with the headset company. Maybe there are special developments going on there that will kind of help. I hope that over time we'll really be able to fix that, because it is, for some people, it definitely is a problem. It all sounds great, but if you have to go up every second time in VR, then it's not fun at all.
Yeah. It's a really interesting question, actually. I've not even considered that because I've not done it yet. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. I personally don't know if the new what they're working on is going to address that. That's something to look out for, though. That's a really
But the good thing about Somnium Space, I feel there are so many different types of events. Like, you can just go to a party, right, and you can just stand still and look at the artist or a. And I've done that many times. I've never experienced nausea, but when I start racing a car or other experience where there's a lot of movement, then I've experienced nausea.
That the standing still thing just reminded me of something that happened in the event 2 weeks ago. So I think somebody had fallen asleep inside their suit or inside their visor. So they were basically asleep on the dance floor, and people were just kind of poking them and trying to wake them up, and it was just hilarious. So advice: don't get drunk and don't fall asleep in your suit would be a good piece of advice, I would say. Thank you, Zippy. Wicked question. Who shall we ask? Cody.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. So I just wanted to ask, is it okay if I ask a question about Radar, the token?
No, we are doing an AMA. No, sorry, man. We're doing an AMA on that at some point pretty soon, but that's not what this is about.
Okay, I was just making sure. All right, then I'll wait for later.
Cool. Hawk Fan 1.
Yeah, hey, thanks for calling me up. I just first I want to say, like everybody else has been kind of echoing, just super bullish on Somnium Space. I've been trying to spread it around to other people as well. On my very large following of 160 followers on Twitter. You
gotta start somewhere, man. You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. I had 20 yesterday and started doing lots of Twitter Spaces. So, hot tip for anybody looking to grow their following, I guess. But my question is, how do you see the launch of the different AR and VR products by the big tech companies affecting your role and the role of Somnium Space, and like, do you think there's opportunities for possible partnerships? Because I'm sure you're aware of the whole concept of the third place, and like your workplace, your home, and then your third place where you hang out. And I think Somnium Space is pretty well positioned to become that.
Yeah, I can't really kind of what Somnium Space has in the terms of partnership. I could imagine that, like, if it's beneficial and it can really help develop the space, then they're completely open to that. And that's like what I found so interesting is that all these partnerships they started to announce because I just mentioned this partnership with Tesla. suits, which is absolutely amazing. This means that now in Somnium Space, if you have a Tesla suit, they're not cheap, but it exists now, right? So you can buy a Tesla suit. I think they're on auction this week, during week 5 of the auction below. If you have a suit, you can actually feel the rain on your body, or you can feel the touch of a person.
Yeah, that was pretty. That blew my mind out. I
Yeah,
was just
and that's
at the
exactly.
the Enter the Metaverse conference or whatever. And yeah, I was watching him present there, and yeah, the entire audience there was just blown away by. It's a pretty fucking great presentation. Sorry,
It was
I know I'm
amazing.
swearing is allowed, but yeah, it's a pretty great presentation that he does with like being inside the VR world and moving the camera around and things. I guess I should clarify what I was asking. I was more so asking just how you think the big like tech companies coming into the space, how that evolves the just the role of Somnium Space like in the metaverse. Like I know that the decisions aren't necessarily with you, but how do you in your vision of it, how
my
do you see
view,
it? Yeah.
I think that like there's no doubt that the metaverse will be like there is not one destination in. I think actually it will evolve, and we will have different destinations. And I like for example, they'll build something amazing. Of course, they have all the resources to do that. Right? They will. Not in doubt about that. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in face, because they'll take the whole concept of the metaverse and spending time in virtual reality, doing business in virtual reality, meeting people across geographical borders in virtual reality will more and more people will be familiarize themselves with that, and that will also an influx of users. I see a future where there will be a lot of different destinations focus on a specific aspects and others focus on different, that those can exist side by side. I see actually a proliferation of virtual worlds, of destinations. Maybe at some point there will even be, some will be small and some will be huge. Some prefer one over another. It can all exist side by side. I think there will be a place for that. You can of course like fear that like will Meta, for example, monopolize everything out, and then in the end there is only Meta. But I think that we will rather see a future where there will be a lot of different destinations, and you pick the one that you prefer, or you jump to the one that you need in that moment.
Okay.
Does
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that goes along with a bit of what I was thinking. Yeah, I didn't I wasn't saying like, oh, it will be so terrible with Meta getting into it. I'm actually especially excited for Microsoft because their HoloLens software, or their HoloLens product is just incredible.
Absolutely. And don't forget, I think we're still at the beginning of ride, and that's I've been in a little over 2 years ago. I constantly feel that we're at the beginning of, even though we're two years down the line, lots of different features and new assets, lots of possibilities. I still feel there's only the 2 first baby steps we can hear. I really believe. Sounds like I'm totally echoing Arthur here from Somnium Space, but I honestly also believe that we will project ourselves further and further into that means are simply, and that we will build more in virtual reality. It's not an either or. They'll exist side by side. I prefer also to have a walk in a real forest and all the air, and that will stay like that. That will never change.
Yeah.
At the same time, we will spend more time in our business, no doubt, and it becomes mobile because virtual reality is now mostly you need your computer, you need your headset, you need your cables, and you get it to work for a little while. But it will become mobile, and we will take virtual reality out of the house. We'll take it with us, on us, or wherever we are, and we jump into a virtual experience we want. That's where we're heading. If people say this is not going to happen, they say it's real, or maybe they say don't want that. Those are maybe the same people that spent hours on it and staring at the little mobile phone, like right? Those same people saying, virtual reality is that's not good for humanity. But the people are already like immersed in a way, right?
I run into that argument just telling people about some of the ideas that I've had because I'm kind of an early adopter of I had the Google the original Google glasses so yeah I've run into that argument, and I can imagine you get that a hell of a lot more than I do. So
I
my
get that a
sympathies are
lot,
with
yes.
you.
I guess we're all like, and that's the great thing. We're kind of the innovators, like Somnium Space is an innovator, but we are like pioneers. I would say we're even just before the first movers. I think the whole influx of first movers would still have to build. They will see the early successes that we create, right? And they will then suddenly it opens up, and I think we're already seeing the beginning of the early successes. Those will kind of be the trigger, and then we'll see the masses coming. And first we see first movers coming in, and then the masses will come. I think that's a natural thing that always happens with new technology. But we are still in the pioneering first mover stage.
Absolutely agreed, and I think next year is going to be the year that it really kicks off with Apple's AR
Absolutely.
glasses.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. If you think about it as well, what we're discussing is we were kind of saying about who's going to build out these metaverse, who's going to have sort of control over this and shape the way it plays out as well. And if it's in a decentralized manner, it's us. We're not looking to somebody else to guide it. It's going to be us that guide the development. So I just think it's quite interesting to think about it from that perspective as well, that's the idea of it, isn't it? We're the ones who are supposed to be shaping this. We're not supposed to be letting.
I think we have a responsibility here, definitely, and I see an evolution of the technology here, right, which is amazing. But we as humans don't evolve that much. Like we're still driven by our emotions. We're still driven by good things, but also by our bad things. We will have good actors, most of them, but we will have bad actors. Yeah. I think that with this whole decentralization, also we have an opportunity to build a mechanism by which of bad actors less visible or harmful. It doesn't mean we change as species. I think that we can, because I think that like development of internet as well, some unfortunate decisions taking on a level which has led to the end of companies like big tech companies that live off our data. Why is that possible? Yeah. Because on a very low protocol level, they could actually capture data in the first place. Yeah. Let's say that was never possible. Like the early kind of the people who invented and created the internet, they said no, we wouldn't have Facebook. Right? So I think that it's not too late to change that, and that's what it's. There is quite a lot at stake as I'm moving away from business models that they are based on data, monetizing people. If anything, you should be able to monetize your own data, your own creations, and that's is also not only Somnium Space, but all these blockchain worlds come. You create something, you register it, it's your NFT, it's your creation, you monetize.
taking that power back as well, I think it's absolutely fascinating. But Mark, I've got to we've got to stop the show here, I'm afraid. We've come to the end, but as always, as we knew, we could have talked about this for days, I believe, and I'm sure we will.
We should do it again some.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think that's the best thing, because it's evolving. And we're not sitting here we're not talking about a polished product, a finished article. We are discussing something that's constantly evolving, and that's why we can come back to it over and over again and keep talking about it, because it's changed every time we discuss it. And I think that's also fascinating as well. Okay, so just to move on, for this week, we're going to announce the winners of the good questions. So we've got Hawks Fan. Well done, sir. I don't know if you're still here. Yes, you are. You have won yourself $10 worth of BUSB. And Mr. Sohal 94, you are the same, sir. So Cornelia will reach out to you, send you a message, get your wallet addresses and things like that. So don't worry, she'll be in touch. So as always, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed, learned something new. And yeah, let's just talk about Radar for 1 second. So Radar is available. Head over to DappRadar.com, click on the token tab, and you will see everything you need. The white paper is there. Check if you're eligible for an airdrop. If you've been a long time user of DappRadar, there's every chance that you are eligible. So go and have a look, check it out. And then if you've got any questions or any concerns post doing that, head over to Discord or head over to our Telegram chat, where the mods are waiting to answer your questions. Again, thank you, everybody. Mark, thank you so much. Just another thank you. I really appreciate your time, man. And we will catch up very soon.